People don't talk about that, but you can enjoy birth and just say things like, I love you, I can't wait to meet you, can help you to feel empowered, because basically babies come down the birth canal and as they, this is not a health class. Anyway. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about all the things I'm doing to prepare for a positive birth experience. Over the last year, I've really become super passionate about birth and wanting other women to know that it doesn't have to be something to fear. Birth is such a natural part of life, and I believe that every birth can be beautiful with the right support and mindset. So, with that said, I am going to share a bunch of different things that I've been doing. Some of them are more physical, practical, and others are more on the emotional, mental side of things. As always, this is my personal experience, and obviously I haven't had a baby yet. This is my first, so I don't know everything. Some of these might end up having worked well for me, some might not. And for you, take what you like, leave what you don't. I really hope today I can encourage you and just give you some practical tools to get ready to bring your baby into the world. All right, let's get started. First thing I've been doing is just trying to keep my body moving and not just planting myself on the couch all day, every day. Obviously this depends on how well you are. Some people have really difficult pregnancies and you just do whatever you can do with your level of ability and whatever your doctor or medical person has told you can do. I've been trying to do daily walks, which I have failed at recently, but daily walking I think is such a good tool to do. It gets you up and out of the house and keeps you moving. And I've been wearing a belly band, I think it's called, when I go on walks because it helps support me, and I've had some hip pain, so it is a good tool. Something I'd also suggest, and which I've done, is seeing a physio before birth. I think a lot of people think about it after, but being able to see where your body's at and prevent things can actually be very valuable when it comes to birth. I would suggest seeing specifically a women's health physio, as they tend to know a bit more and just have more experience and specialty. My physio has given me a few different exercises and tools to help with my specific issues during pregnancy. So my first thing was hip pain, which she got me to do this specific exercise. Also to help with that were some stretches, and then I also experienced some back pain, and so she got me to do some of those, I don't know if they're called hip thrusts, hip lifts, that. And the last thing I've been doing, physio directed, is pelvic floor exercises. I think when you're young and haven't had any issues in the past, you don't really think too much about how your pelvic floor is, but it's a big part of birth and recovery, and you really want to make sure you're doing the best to get that in order. Another thing I've been doing is thinking about how I can best help my baby be in the best position for birth. It's nothing you have to overthink. If your baby is head down, that's already a great start. My baby is head down currently. Basically, you want them to be head, not sunny side up. So sunny side up is if they come out and they're looking up. You want them head down, ideally. Either one is perfectly fine, but it's an easier delivery if your baby is head down. So what I've been doing for that is trying not to sit back too much. Obviously, when you're pregnant, you're tired and you want to just be able to relax. So when I need to do that, I will lie on my side on the couch, and every other time I try and sit forward so that gravity is kind of leaning forward rather than back, just because that helps them to get into a better position. I also spend a lot of time on my exercise ball, doing different movements. And then I've just started doing 30 seconds in this position. I'll show you. Again, just helping them to get into the best position for birth. Make sure you do this one with someone else around you, FYI. it can be difficult getting up. Something else I've found valuable is having a picker-upper stick, whatever it's called, just to avoid a lot of bending down and up. And when I do need to bend down, thinking about how I'm doing that to best support my body, thinking more of in a squat position rather than leaning, getting all off balance or putting more weight on one side. Those things can be harder on our bodies. Additionally, just watching how I am getting up and down, particularly from bed. So it's important to make sure that you're rolling onto the side facing, you know what I mean. I also try to get out of the car by swinging both of my legs around to have that double support. I don't always do this, but it's another thing to think about. And lastly, I'm not doing this currently, but I would suggest some sort of pregnancy Pilates. I think it's really nice being around other pregnant women and strengthening your body as best you can. I went to one class when I was 20 weeks pregnant and it was good. I just didn't end up going back because life got busy and I didn't prioritize it. I don't regret that, but I am planning on trying another class soon and hopefully getting a few in before my baby comes. With all of these things, just do what is going to work for you. We're all at different levels of fitness and ability, and pregnancy can be really tough on some of us and some of us can find it quite easy. So do whatever is going to work for you. And as much as I've listed all of these things, I definitely haven't done them all at the same time or been consistent with all of them. That can just add to a mental load if anything. So just do a few, try a few things, see what's going to work for you. And don't be too hard on yourself. So my mental/emotional list is a little bit longer actually than the physical stuff because I think it plays such a big part of getting ready for birth and that experience. So the biggest things that I have done to prepare, and I am preparing for a non-medicated birth, so that's a bit different, is I've done something called hypnobirthing. You might have heard of it, it's quite common nowadays, but not everyone has. So I did a Hypnobirthing Australia course. We actually just finished it on the weekend. Hypnobirthing, I find hard to describe. It sounds really woo-woo, but it's not. It just takes you through different techniques to use as an alternative to like traditional pain medication like epidural or gas and air, which you can still do if you also want to do hypnobirthing. I don't want to say you can't. It can all work together. But basically give you some alternative tools to work through your contractions and like visualization, breathing tools, as well as really taking you through the physiology? Yeah. Through the physiology of birth so you can prepare. It also was a good resource for working through any fears that you have that came up. As much as I've been really positive most of this pregnancy, things do come up at different points, and I think it's really important to work through them so that it's not going to be really holding you back from enjoying your baby. Alongside the Hypnobirthing Australia course, I actually had been using something else called Christian hypnobirthing. For me, as a person of Christian faith, this was, I don't want to say better tool, but I felt that the hypnobirthing was great, but the Christian hypnobirthing really brought in more of the God factor and made me feel that extra connection to it, that spiritual side. So instead of just talking about how like your body's designed for birth, you can do it, you're capable. The Christian hypnobirthing also focused on how God's designed our bodies for birth, and it uses like different scripture, and there's more like prayer and stuff that you can use. So it really combined my faith with the awesome hypnobirthing tools. So I really liked that. But that one was just online, unfortunately. So it was a series of videos that you can watch, and then there's an app where you can listen to different affirmations, again like visualization exercises. There's like a gratitude and thankfulness thing, and just some relaxation music, stuff like that. I already briefly mentioned this, but I really do think working through fears or self-doubt is really important going into birth. Obviously we might still be nervous, and that's perfectly normal, but if there are big things that you're worried about, I would really suggest digging into where that's coming from, whether that's something you actually should be concerned about, and just working on yourself and working in yourself to appreciate like your capability as a woman, as a birthing woman. So the first thing that I ever did when I was first learning about birth, which was probably a year ago now, I basically knew very little. What I did was I actually found a podcast. So I found one called Positive Birth Australia, and I started listening to the birth stories, that's what's on the podcast. And I found that really, really, really valuable. And it's something that got me from, I'll just get through the birth and, be happy to have my baby, to actually birth itself is an amazing journey, an experience, and something that you can enjoy. Like, people don't talk about that, but you can enjoy birth. And then another podcast I listened to was Australian Birth Stories, which is I think more of a bigger one. They both show kind of a range of birth stories, and it's all from like a place of how can we learn from previous births maybe, or listen to this amazing experience. This is how this person got to that point. So it's nothing like scary, horror stories, which hopefully you're not hearing from family or friends. That I would definitely say to really be protective of your space and what information you're getting. If someone starts telling you a story that is traumatic and not helpful, you can choose to say, actually, I'd rather not hear this right now. I appreciate that it's your story and that's valuable, but while I'm growing this baby and stuff, I'd rather not hear about it. So yes, I would highly recommend listening to birth story podcasts. I think it can help you to feel not alone, help you feel empowered, and just really get to hear such a variety of birth, so that when things come up during your own experience, you can recall information or things where you're like, oh, I remember hearing about that, and it makes it not so scary. Something else that I did early on was watch positive birth videos. I feel like there's no super traumatic birth videos. If people are putting that online, like on YouTube, it's generally because it's a good experience. I think it's only movies and TV that show traumatic births, which aren't the majority. I really enjoyed watching videos on YouTube of birth. Yeah, enjoying how precious it is and beautiful and emotional. I can't finish this category without saying how much I suggest you get informed. Knowledge, it's cliche, but knowledge is power, and I think the more you know, the more you can feel good when it comes to having to make choices and knowing what's going to happen with your body. I know a lot of the time we don't want to know because we think that will protect us, but a lot of the time, unfortunately, if you have no idea what's going on and then you have a negative or unplanned birth experience, it can really affect you mentally as well as physically. Unfortunately, the statistics are like 1 in 3 women in Australia is coming away from birth pretty traumatized. So I think it's really important to at least have a base level of information about the physiology of birth, what's going to happen, what are potential choices you're going to have to make, and making them, discussing them with your partner before it comes up, so that when you're in the moment, you don't have to be stressing about, oh, what should we do? It's just, okay, we know if this was going to come up, this was going to be our choice if possible. Obviously, emergency situations are different, but this is more things where you've got a little bit of time to decide and make your own decisions. That's a massive thing, feeling like you're in control as much as you can be in birth. Other things that I've been doing are just really simple, things like praying for my baby and for my birth, trying to have some routine, especially as I finish up with work and then have, my maternity leave. I'm not just sitting around not knowing what to do and feeling frantic, so that's something that's helpful for me. Also, talking to baby, I think is really important. It helps you to start off that bond. So I'll often say good morning when I wake up, or if I feel her moving, I'll just acknowledge that I know she's there, and just say things like, I love you, I can't wait to meet you, and start that bond off. Something else I have been doing is really including my husband in a lot of this stuff, because I think birth is such a team effort if you choose for it to be. Some people don't want to have that, and that's perfectly fine, but I think that it can really bond you even further as a family, as a couple, as you're bringing your child into the world. So we have been talking lots about the birth, what we're excited for, things we might be a little nervous about, as well as just bonding over the whole experience of learning about birth, learning about parenthood, all of that stuff. Men especially can often feel left out or pushed aside when it comes to birth. So I think it's important to at least give your husband or partner tools and jobs that they can be doing during birth, so that they know how they can best help you, because they will feel pretty helpless. And the last thing that I will say that I've been trying to do is just letting everything go. We can plan and plan and plan and prepare as much as we want, but we all know things don't always go to plan, and being okay with that is also really important. So as much as I have, I try and visualize my dream birth experience, I know that things might not go to plan, and that's really important for me to know that that's okay, that, I haven't failed if that happens, and to just let it all go. It's hard because you want to plan, but you don't want to have such high expectations and then be disappointed. So finding that balance as best that we can. Okay, I think that is just about everything. I hope I didn't just swarm you with information. You've got this. If you are pregnant, if you're hoping one day to be pregnant, to go through birth, I hope I encouraged you, and there's some tools you can take from this video. If you aren't in that position but you know someone who is, maybe send this video to them as encouragement. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.